Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon from wherever you're listening from, and welcome to another great episode of The Resume Whisperer. I'm your host, Josef Stetter. Today I want to kind of go back to basic, to the fundamentals of the do's and don'ts in your job finding process, starting with resumes, okay? I understand that a lot of people are taking advantage of ChatGPT to create a resume, but understand that the formatting in ChatGPT puts asterisks in throughout what it says. So also potentially different fonts and different size fonts and there. So although ChatGPT can do a decent job of creating a nice looking resume, make sure you read through it. Make sure that there's consistencies in the graphic. There's not like 2 or 3 asterisks, because that's a dead giveaway that you used AI to create your resume. Now, there's, a lot of jokes and adages about spell checking your resume. You'd be surprised how many resumes where like simple basic words that are generic that people still use, like hardworking, dedicated, committed, are misspelled, right? Which in itself will kind of create a negative impression. So I want to kind of go through a few stages, like, for the job search itself, the resume, the pre-interview, interview, and kind of after the interview as part of today's episode to kind of refresh people's memory and explain to them some of the fundamentals that you need to understand. So let's start with kind of your job search, okay? Understand that Indeed or Career Builder or Glassdoor as job boards are a resource to find jobs, but they shouldn't be the only resource, because more often than not, you get lost in the shuffle. So depending on the system, better known as ATS or applicant tracking system, that is being used, including Indeed, sometimes the formatting is measured more than the resume. Now, in most cases for online job boards, one job posting will get between 350 and 5,000 resumes. Let me repeat that, 350 to 5,000 resumes. Most companies look at the top 100. So if you're 101, you might be out of luck. Now, there's a few simple things that you can do to get noticed. Number one, generally most of the big job boards refresh their database between 11:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 2:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So going to your resume, press spacebar and save anywhere in the resume. The moment you make that, it's considered a change to your resume, which means it's a new resume. So you're more likely to be seen. If you've posted your resume in March and we're now almost in July, you're probably on page 7,000 of the database. Nobody sees your resume. Second thing, understand, for the past, let's say 70 years, we've been taught to fill our resume with action words. Manage, direct, liaise, coordinated. However, there's a problem with that. The algorithm of the databases don't measure those words unless you're in leadership or those words are the technical words associated with the job. So if, for example, you are an accountant, you need to populate your resume with technical words like accountant, accounting, financial statements, general ledger, reconciliations, balance sheet, income statement, cash flow statement. Those are the words that the algorithm of the job boards look for, not managed directly, ACE coordinated, so forth. And definitely not hardworking, dedicated, committed team player with excellent communication skills. Okay. I can tell you that in 20 years in recruiting, I've met very few people that say, listen, I'm lazy, I'll show up late, none of my work will be any good, I really hate people, please hire me. The only time that might work is if you're related to somebody in the company or having an affair with them. And understand that these words are extremely subjective because your definition of hardworking and my definition, or the organization that you're applying to's definition of hardworking, can be very different, right? So keep that in mind, that the less generic fluff you have, the better. And I keep emphasizing this, and I know there's a few experts that have caught on to the importance of this. Quantify the results, the kind of significance of the work that you've done. Okay. I don't care that you know how to do something. I don't care that you have experience in something. I want to know how good you are. So whether you use STAR system, situation, task, action, result, whether you use PAR or CAR, problem, action, result, or uh, concern, action, result, whatever it is, a lot of acronyms, SMART, doesn't matter. But kind of tell me what it is that you did. Tell me what was the strategy used to solve it, and what was the result, or the significance of the result, the impact that you made, basically. If you don't tell me the impact, if you think I'm going to guess how good you are, chances are I'm going to guess a lot less than what you've actually done. And when I say I mean every employer that's potentially looking at your resume. Okay, that's the first thing. So if you want to be smart about your job search, you should use job boards about 10% of the time. Use multiple job boards, because sometimes companies go, everybody knows Indeed. It's the largest one in North America. Everybody recommends it. But because everybody knows it, many companies go, you know what? We're going to give last priority to resumes from Indeed. But if you use some of the smaller job boards, they could be local job boards in your city, or they could be, smaller job boards like allstarjobs.com that very few people know about. When you use some of the smaller job boards, companies go, okay, this is somebody that did a little bit of research. They know a little bit more than the average person, so we're going to interview them first. 25% of your job search should be using employment agencies, recruiters, headhunters, whatever name they go by. Okay, I recommend to register with 6 to 10. Why? Because I assume half will not like you. And again, in North America, we are in a culture where we don't really tell you why we don't like you. We just kind of avoid you, ignore you, or ghost you. Okay, which I don't know why this has become so common in the workforce, but it is, right? So register with 3 big national ones, the Roberts Half, the Randstads, the Hayes, um, that have offices all over the world. Okay, and then register with 3 smaller local ones. Okay, and now the reason I say a minimum of 6 is because, again, if 3 of them dismiss you for whatever reason, they don't like your name, they don't like uh, where you've worked, they don't like that you've had movement, whatever reason it is, you're not going to know. But if there's 3 that do like you, they will make a commission to place you. And it's in their best interest to place you. Now, when you register with the agency, understand that every agency has their own way of doing things. Some of them might get you to do a ton of assessments and get you to spend 3 hours doing various tests and assessment, because that's how they offer higher level of service. Okay, but regardless of whether or not you're spending several hours to kind of do all the assessments that they need, you have to understand they already have contacts with people in the industry. So if they like you, and a lot of times they work on the same company with the same job orders. So 3 agencies represent you to one company, there's a very good chance you're going to get interviewed for it. Okay, but use agencies because they have an in. You're not going through the applying online. Okay, now even for applying online, as much as I'd say 98% of jobs in North America say, don't call us, we'll call you, most people go, okay, I'll wait. And then they wonder why nobody calls it. Call them. Tell them that your internet disconnected the moment that you press submit on the application, or that your laptop battery just died, or you never got a confirmation, and if they can check if your application went through. The moment they checked, if remember I started the conversation saying, most companies look at the first 100. If you were 101 and you call and say, can you check if my application went through? If you were 101, guess what? You're now first on the list. And when you're first on the list, you also have a minute or two to give your elevator pitch that says, here's something you should know about me. Here's a problem I solved. Here's the action I took. Here's the results I got. So that you're planting that seed of maybe we should consider you for this opportunity. After you've planted that seed, ask them when they're starting to interview for the role. When they say, we're starting to interview, let's say in a week, ask permission if you don't hear back in a week to call back and get feedback on your resume so that you have a better chance next time. By asking permission to call back, you're also planting a second seed that you follow through. And if they didn't really like you the first time around, they'll take a closer look when you fall through again. So very, very important. 25% of your job search should be LinkedIn and other social media. And most companies today have pages on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on so forth. So if you be part of the conversations by posting it, then they will start looking you up. They will start finding you. LinkedIn, stop giving me your name, your title, the years of work, and the name of place that you've worked. Give me details, just like your resume, because I can assure you, as a recruiter headhunter, I don't have the time to figure out if you know or have experience or have results when you haven't given me any information. Fill in the technical skills. Don't give me 2 or 3. That's not going to score you on LinkedIn. LinkedIn caps it at 50. Put 50 in there, right? And if you don't have 50 and you have 30, repeat them throughout your LinkedIn profile so that the algorithm catches you more. But stop being generic. Be proactive, okay? 25% of your job search should be networking, okay? Now, in networking, again, don't go to a networking event with the intention of collecting business cards. First of all, market yourself, brand yourself. So if you notice my background, it's purple. Most of my shows, I'm wearing a purple shirt. Okay, it's my signature. If you look at all of my websites, all of my material, there's always purple. So when I go to a marketing event or a networking event, when I send a follow-up email, I'm the guy in purple. They might not remember my name because they might have had hundreds of conversations, but they'll remember the purple. So pick a color. If it's not a color, a funny tie, a hat or fedora or bowler or whatever it is that's your thing, right? If you are more creative with your shoes, okay, shoes. If you are part of an association, you're a vet, wear your pin, wear it proudly, because those are conversation starters. Those trigger emotion, okay? So those are for men, general kind of ideas. Women, you have a lot more choices because you can do your hair a certain way, you can do your makeup a certain way, you can wear earrings a certain way, you can wear necklaces, you can wear brooches, pins, you can wear a pashmina or a scarf that kind of gives you your signature. You can have a particular outfit, whether it's a dress or a full like business outfit that's unique, different color, anything like that. Even your shoes, like there's a lot more variety for women, but be consistent with it the way you show up so that people, even if they don't remember your name, can associate with you, okay? Then the last 15% of the job search should be targeting specific companies, being proactive and going in person there. Even if you have to sit there all day and wait, you'll get results. A friend of mine, graduate mechanical engineering, applied for jobs, didn't get a response. He printed out 25 copies of his resume, chose 25 companies that interest him. Went to the first one, showed up at 9 a.m., said, I want to speak to the director. Receptionist looked at him and said, do you have an appointment? He said, no. She said, well, he's busy all day. He said, okay, I'll wait. And he sat there till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the director said, I understand you're looking for me. What can I help you with? And my friend said to him, I know you're not hiring right now, but I want to come in person and introduce myself. I just graduated from mechanical engineering. These are the projects I did at school. This is the grades or the results I produced in my project. I really want to work for this company and I want to come in person and introduce myself. The director looked at him and said, you waited here from 9 a.m. till now just to have like a 2-minute conversation with me? My friend said yes. Ended up having a 5-minute conversation with the director, and the director hired him on the spot. Okay. Nobody's doing this anymore. Start being more proactive. Don't wait for them to call you. If you can, go there, try to connect with somebody, use LinkedIn, find out who works in the company, befriend them, get some insider information. Maybe they can recommend you. Understand that most companies in North America pay between $300 and $2,500 for internal referral. So if you get hired because somebody at the company recommended you, that person will get between $300 and $2,500 as a bonus referral once you pass your probation. So there's incentive for them if you kind of built a good rapport with them. And if you don't know where to start, go on meetup.com. There's tons of daily events of people that are like-minded like you, that are in the same profession you. Okay, so again, go have a drink with them, go have a coffee, go have a beer, and just talk to them, get to know them, about their environment there, things that maybe the manager or director likes that you can put on your resume that can help you there. And the better you are at building a relationship, the better your chances. Now, let's just say that you secured an interview. This should be common sense, but it is scary to how uncommon it is nowadays. Okay, make sure that when you have an interview, that you go at the bare minimum on the website. Look at any articles on them. If there's announcement that they just signed a deal, they've got new projects, they won awards, so that, because I guarantee you'll be asked in the interview, what do you know about our company? If your answer is I don't know, you're not getting it. I can guarantee that. Okay, but do a little bit of research. And since we are in the digital age, if you know the name of the person that's interviewing you, look them up on LinkedIn. Look a little bit at career history. It's a great conversation starter. It's a great way to build rapport. It's a great way to build trust. It's a great way to show that you're genuinely interested in working there, not just I need a job. Okay. Now, again, the rule of thumb: if you have an interview at, let's say, 9 a.m., you should be there at 45. You should always be sitting early. If you're going to be late because it's out of your control, the bus is delayed, make sure that you're proactive to call, to email, whatever it is there. Okay? Know the person that you're interviewing with. Know a little bit about them. Have some questions, like, have any questions for me? If you're like, nope, you're probably not getting hired. You should be at the end of each interview 3 to 10 questions. The only exception might be a phone interview where it's an initial screening where they kind of go through a checklist of questions that they need to ask. But you want to ask 2 to 3 questions about yourself and the role in terms of about the company itself. So, like, 3 of my favorite questions to ask at the end of the interview is, if I were hired tomorrow, what is the first thing that can do to impact? What do you think happens to your interviewer when you're asking about making an immediate impact? Are they listening to you as just, oh, it's another candidate, or I succeed in the company kind of thing? Right? Another great question you can ask is, what would you say is the biggest obstacle for success in this position? Even if you've already given them an example throughout the interview, and same thing for making an immediate impact, whatever they say in response to you, reiterate an example that you've already given in the interview that says, here's the proof I have and the results I have to do this. So when they say this is a problem, you give them an example of why it's not a problem for you, or why you've produced significant results, even though it was difficult, or even though it was a process for you to do, right? But emphasize that, right? Another beautiful question to ask is, of other people that currently hold this position or have held this position in the past, what are some of the key characteristics that you would like to see repeated? And if you want to know if you're getting the job, add in how do you see me fitting in? If they hesitate, stutter, or they have to think about the answer, you're not getting the job. If they answer you right away, they're excited about you. You're the standard. Okay, now, in the past 2 months, I've had a wide variety of guests here. Most of them have talked about the importance of energy, of passion, of excitement, not just, yeah, I'm a good worker, I love my team, I'm a team player, I'm hardworking. No, if that's the energy you have going to interview, that's the energy they're going to assume that you'll have at work. And so they're not going to be excited about hiring you, right? If you have a passion, energy, your body language will show that. Your physiology will show that. But if you're just giving me the cookie cutter answer, that's the next thing. Stop with the autoresponder. Stop it, please. I'm begging you. You know how many times I've asked people, like, I asked them, okay, what are you most proud of at this job? Oh, I love my job. I'm really hardworking. Or, I know how to do Java and I know how to do this program or that program. My question was, what are you most proud of? And your answer is, you know how to do this? If you think you're getting hired when I ask you what you're proud of and you're giving me just generic jargon, you're not getting hired. Okay? Now, again, this should be common sense, but do not wear heavy perfume when you go to the interview. There's a lot of people that have smell sensitivity today. Do not smoke a cigarette before the interview. Do not drink before the interview in terms of alcohol. And even bringing a coffee to the interview. Sometimes if you're sipping your coffee a lot, it distracts or takes away from the quality of the interview that you're giving and the information. Similarly, don't wear heavy jewelry. For predominantly ladies, don't wear the big circle earrings. Don't wear 7 necklaces around your neck. Sometimes guys wear a lot of necklaces, but again, depending on the environment that you're going for, and especially for white-collar professional jobs, if there's too much jewelry and too much makeup, right, or the perfume is very strong, or you smell of cigarettes, you might be a great candidate, but it's distracting away from you. I can tell you that I'm partially allergic to cigarette smell. So if you reek of cigarettes and I can smell it to the level that it's affecting my breathing, regardless of how good you are, I'm probably not going to hire you because you're affecting me. And I don't like the smell around me. So be aware of that and be cautious of that, okay? Now, I emphasize this because this actually happened to me recently with a candidate. A candidate showed up for the interview and then asked if they can go to the bathroom and went to the bathroom for 40 minutes. Okay? If you need to go to the bathroom for longer, like a number 2, please do it before you get to the interview. Again, if there was an emergency, you had food poisoning or whatever, own it. Tell them, because that gets rid of the pink elephant that all of a sudden you're, kind of killing time and so forth. But own it. Again, similarly, religiously, I've talked about this before, but I want to emphasize this. Different cultures, different habits. So I know that, for example, men in India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, for example, sometimes Nepal, will wear up to 8, 10 rings on their fingers. And I appreciate that some of these rings are for health, some of them are for status, some of them are for luck, some of them are kind of religious. And I get it. But understand that in Western culture, people that don't know about the practices in India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Nepal, of men wearing so many rings will look and go, okay, there's a dude wearing 8 rings here. It's unusual for them. And so, again, just like the earrings or the necklaces, they'll focus on that rather than the information you're portraying. So if it's important to you culturally, wear 2 rings, maybe 3, and put the rest in your pockets. Okay? Now, in that realm, understand that in North America, we have a hodgepodge of cultures that are intertwined. Okay, so in some cultures, it is considered offensive to look right into the eyes because looking right into the eyes means that you're looking into the soul. So if you are of that culture, right, First Nations, um, Japanese, some Middle Eastern culture, look above the eyebrows. It's a martial arts trick. It gives you peripheral vision. It looks like you're looking into the eyes when you look up here, right? It gives, especially in Western culture, uh, the person the respect they deserve, but it doesn't go against what you believe in. Similarly, right, if you're more religious and you're, let's say, female, and you're not allowed to shake hands with somebody who's male unless they're family or your spouse, please acknowledge that. Educate the person that's interviewing you so that they don't go, oh, how rude, or how kind of there, that's kind of obnoxious. Again, in terms of your attire, please try to make sure your outfits are not wrinkled, stained, your shoes are shined. Again, if it's bad weather and snowy, no one's going to judge you. But be aware, if you had a coffee on the way here and something spilled, own it. Make fun of yourself a little bit and be like, you know what? I was so nervous. I spilled my coffee. I'm so sorry that you're seeing the stain. I promise you, I dressed professionally. But when you own it, you get rid of that pink elephant of judgment. Okay, so make sure of that. Again, in the interview, when you start the interview, try to look around, try to acknowledge, the energy of their paintings in the office, or if there's family pictures, like just say that's a beautiful family. It's a way to build instant rapport without kind of their. Don't slouch when you're in an interview. Stand up, be proud. Now, again, basic interviewing skill. You should also be shadowing your interview. So if your interviewer is leaning in like this, that means that they're telling you something important. Lean in to listen. If they're a little bit further back, lean further back. Okay. If you're asked a question and you're not sure how to answer it, do not be afraid to ask for clarification, because if you just ramble on and you don't answer the question, it'll score against you. Okay. Now, after the interview, okay, again, when you finish the interview, ask when you can expect to hear, uh, you know, positive or negative in terms of interview, when the next interview is. I personally always teach my clients to go on greeting cards. There's tons of free greeting cards, and send a greeting card with the highlight the key points that you talked about in the interview, the results that you kind of talked about that you can produce for them, and thank them for their time and energy. Okay, if you've got a second interview, third interview, make sure that you come with different questions at the end of the interview. Make sure that you have the same energy. Make sure that, again, the nuances. Don't chew gum while you're in an interview. I don't know why it's okay now to, while you're in, like, no, it's a distraction, right? It should be common sense, but it doesn't seem to be. Okay. And I'll also say this: if you catch yourself making a mistake, own it. Because when you can own and show that you know that you made a mistake, but you can correct it, you actually are respected a lot more than if you are just kind of, oops, I made a mistake, never mind, let's move forward kind of thing. Okay. Now, in that, I need you to understand that job finding is like dating. You're not for everybody. Although you might think you're perfect, there are cultural differences, there's communication differences. We are in an era where the first time ever we have 5 different generations working together. Each one has different communication styles, right? Your baby boomers want face to face, your millennials want to text, okay? But it's important that you understand that there's differences there. But also, and this is, again, uh, especially if you're not desperate for a job, and don't ever present yourself as desperate, because if you come to a job interview like, please, please, please give me a job, I'm really hardworking, dedicated, committed, and team player, one of two things will happen. One, they won't hire you because you don't have confidence in yourself. Or two, they will hire you, but they'll pay you nothing because they know you're desperate. Okay. So when you come in with confidence, like, I have value, I have gifts, I have genius, this is what I'm really good at, this is the results I can produce, companies will see that. Companies will hear it and understand. I'm not saying you're not great at something, but you need to understand that there are cultural differences, there's communication differences, there's behavior differences. There is, even within the same industry, like I'm going to use accounting firms, Big Five, KPMG and Ernst and Young have very different internal cultures. Same job, very different cultures, right? So just because you came from a competitor doesn't mean it's done the same way there. So in your 3 to 10 questions that you're asking at the end of the interview, check in. What is the culture there? What's their leadership style? What is their communication style? What is the expectations of, if there's the work that you're doing, billable hours? What is that? What does that look like what does a typical weekday look like in the profession, right? What are they doing to, again, if you listen to all the conversations we've had in the past few episodes, what is the company doing to keep their employees engaged? Turnover in North America costs $1 trillion, not billion, trillion with a T, right? And in the top 10 reasons why people leave a job, salary is actually number 7. How they're treated, lack of clear communication from leadership or strategy, and kind of an environment where no new ideas are welcomed are the top 3. Okay, so again, own that. Be part of the conversation. Be part of, okay, here's what I can produce. Here's what I can expect, right? And don't be afraid to ask for things, right? So those are things. So at the end of the interview, depending on where you are financially, depending on the level of job, buy a box of chocolate. You can get them as cheap as $5, right? And thank you card, simple dollar store thank you card. Thank you for taking the time. I just want to show you that I appreciate the time that you took with something sweet, right? It makes a huge difference. Again, when you're following through or following up, understand that, I don't know, again, this has become common practice, but both candidates and companies have now started ghosting each other. So if companies don't want to give you feedback, it sucks, but try 2 or 3 times. If they don't respond, let it be. Move on. And understand that if you didn't get the job, there are multiple factors that might affect it, such as communication style, cultural differences, right? So, Chinese people in the work environment tend to be very polite, very respectful. They come from a culture that they don't like confrontation. Okay, so they tend to be a little bit more reserved. They're very business focused and they're very good at what they do. But if they're working from somebody with a Middle Eastern background, tends to be louder, more in your face, more direct communication. Again, it's not that it's good or bad, it's just different. And so it's very important to recognize that so that you're not flustered and overwhelmed with, oh my God, this is different. Okay. Um, you know, make sure that, when you're seeking advice from people, pardon the expression I'm going to give right now, but there's an adage in English that says opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one, right? So understand, if you're asking someone who is, for example, a software developer how to find a job, and you're trying to get a job as an engineer, like as an electrical engineer, it's a different beast. Ask people in the profession, right? You can reach out to people on LinkedIn and say, hey, you're successful here. Would you mind having a conversation with me on what made you so successful? Giving me some insights on how I can get into the industry. Do you mind mentoring me? Right? You'd be surprised how many successful people love mentoring. You know why? Because it gives an opportunity to create a legacy. I've had the honor and the pleasure of helping 12,000 people land their dream job in as little as 2 days, right? And again, I know I'm making a difference in their life. I know I'm making a difference in their family lives. I know that they talk about me, that I open their eyes, I help them, I create opportunities for them. And again, I simply guided them on how to have the conversation. I simply guided them on how to do the search. I simply guided them on, here's resources that you should be using that most people don't use and don't know about. Like, for example, most major cities in North America have a Chamber of Commerce or Board of Trade or both, or a convention center. All of them have regular events. All of them have kind of conversations that relate to whatever profession you're having, that those are great places to target. Okay, and people don't understand that. Again, there is a lot of free resources out there, but understand that a lot of the free resources that come from government agencies, whether at the federal level, the provincial or state level, the municipal level, because they're government, they are more than likely using outdated resources. Okay. Again, What Color Is Your Parachute by many is considered to be one of the Bibles of job finding. It is a great resource. It is a great book. But a lot of the information is still outdated because we are still looking for a job as if we are part of the Industrial Revolution. We are not part of the Industrial Revolution anymore. We're part of the technological revolution. You need to stand out. Stop being in a sea of sameness. Like, if one fish faces one direction, all the fish face that direction. Okay. If you do the same as everybody else, you will never stand out. Okay. And unless you've worked for the big boys, your big five accounting firms, the big engineering firms, tech companies like, Microsoft or IBM or Apple or Google or Facebook or things like that, it's very hard to distinguish yourself. So be different. Yes, sometimes the applicant tracking system will not like different because they're formatting, like they measure formatting more than the quality of the resume. But if you're proactive, you're being different. If you add a tiny bit of flavor, like a little bit of color on your headings, you're different. If you brand yourself in whatever is your style, you're different. If you're having conversations about mentoring and ideas and learning, you're being different. If you're going in person, you're being different. If you're using LinkedIn and you actually take the time to fill it in, you'll get noticed. People that don't bother filling in their LinkedIn profile, as a recruiter, that's the first place I look for when I look for candidates, especially if it's a market that I don't know or I don't live in right now, like around the United States. There's markets I don't know all the dynamics, so I have to go on LinkedIn to find people for my clients. But stop making common sense mistakes that you should have been taught over and over again not to do. So I hope this information was useful and relevant for you. And I hope that you understand that when you do a little bit to be different, you can get huge results. Thank you for listening. My name is Josef Stetter. I am the Resume Whisperer and Corporate Culturist. And I hope you have a great night, a great morning, and a great afternoon. Have a beautiful and productive day.